my name is Aleksandra Badura and I work at Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam. I work at the Department of Neuroscience and I'm an associate professor there. I started my group 5 years ago. And I study the neural mechanisms that underlie autism spectrum disorder, and we're really interested in the cerebello-cortical networks and the interaction in between cerebellum and the cortex in autism. So we currently work with Noldus to incorporate the EthoVision software with the live mouse tracker. So we started with the live mouse tracker, which is an open source hardware, and they also provide open source software, but as you know, all of our software requires a lot of coding skills that varies in the lab. Sometimes as a PI, you get people in and they're great coders, and sometimes they're great at like molecular lab work, but not so much coding. And that always fluctuates over the years. So we started to work with EthoVision to get their solution for quantifying the behavior. So we still build our rigs ourselves, but then EthoVision provides the tools to analyze it and make sure that if I have one student 1 year, it's going to be analyzed exactly the same way. But they can run the experiment and then get the data. And we use the live mouse tracker, which is social interactions between multiple mice, which is always very complex because then you can track multiple mice at the same time, and they can run away from each other, they can sniff, they can do a lot of those things. And the EthoVision can quantify all of these things very reliably. We also did beta testing, and then it's really nice to collaborate because as beta testers, we got the software, and then it was a really very interactive collaboration. So we worked with Kevin, with your colleague, a lot. My PhD student was in contact with him, I think, every other day to be like, oh, it would be great if you guys could incorporate this in the software. And then we had it run with some other students, and then the students like, well, actually, if you change it this way or that way, that will be more intuitive to use. So we really liked collaborating with Noldus. And people who work at Noldus have very often they come from either etiology or from neuroscience background. So they have been people who worked in labs. They know our challenges, and also people who didn't, they really come to the lab to try to understand it. As I think it's the relationship between the researcher and people who work at Noldus, where you try to not just sell us the product, but help us to reach the goal in research. Yeah, I think what is great is to see more interest from neuroscientists, also very fundamental neuroscientists, in mouse behavior, and to really capture the phenotypic variability and really go into more detail. But I think that we need to move past that and really look at all the rich phenotype. So I'm really happy to see that's happening.